Hey everyone, I'm not gonna lie, this is like my fifth time recording this, and two times I thought I was recording and I wasn't. So here goes take number 7. I'm reaching out to you guys today through this video. I want to connect with you guys a little bit. Pastor Dan asked me if I could make a video explaining a little bit about me and my upbringing in the faith, so that you guys can kind of watch it and get to know me a little bit better, get to know my past a little bit better. So I'm going to give it a shot. Here it goes. All right. So I was raised in the Lutheran Church. When I was born, my parents both went to St. John's Lutheran Church in Oak Harbor. I went to Solomon Lutheran, the private school in Woodville. So I went there all the way through the 6th grade. So I got what I consider a good foundation in the church. Solomon does chapel on every Wednesday, and they have a religion class like you would have a math class or a science class. So I learned a lot about some of the core things in the Bible, and I grew up strong that way. And then we went to church, like every Sunday and things like that. My parents are fairly religious people, so we always had great conversation and a lot of good things. I prayed every night before I went to bed. We prayed before every meal. And, I was immersed in a religious family. Once I got older, in middle school in the Lutheran Church, we start something called catechism. Catechism is about learning about baptism, because in the Lutheran Church you get baptized as a baby. So I don't ever remember being baptized myself. So we go through catechism in middle school. It's usually 2 to 3 years. I think it's 3 years. I went through that, and we dive into what baptism means and some of the real core depths about being an adult and being a Christian, things God is calling upon us to do. We learn a little bit about the Lutheran Church at that point, and some of the things that they do and why they do what they do. So I graduated, per se, catechism, and got confirmed, what it was called. It was the day I stood up in front of the church. We read a bunch of lines, we recited a couple things, we shared a little bit about ourselves and our journey. We got confirmed, we accepted our baptism. And after that, we're considered a member, an adult member of the church. So I went through that, and then got into like freshman year of high school, joined my youth group at my church. There were, on average, going through high school, anywhere between 7 to 15 kids in my youth group. So, nothing compared to what you guys have here at the block. But it was a good group. We were all close-knit friends. We had grown up with each other all through elementary school and whatnot. Our leaders were 2 different couples, all about the same age, comparison-wise, to kind of like what Dan, Heidi, and I are to you guys. And they were very active people. They took us out and we did a lot of different things, a lot of different service projects, a lot of different mission trips, some fun stuff as well. And that's really where I became what I consider an active Christian. I had a foundation which kind of led to my beliefs, but I didn't really know what to do or how to do it. And so they taught me things that I can do to be active and to share God's love and to share with other people. And so youth group all the way through high school. Once I graduated, that's kind of when I drifted away from the church. I wouldn't say I drifted away from God. I was still a believer and I was still very strong in my faith. But I kind of got that newfound, hey, I'm 18, I can do what I want kind of attitude. I didn't really go to church quite as often. Started doing my own thing. My parents would always ask me, hey, why don't you come to church and listen? I always used the rhetoric line, God said wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, he's there. So I don't have to go to church. And it's not that that's not wrong. Wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, God is there. But that's not intended to take the place of the church body. That's intended to be just like a small group session like what we do, or something of that sort. And it wasn't until years later that I really discovered that was true. I met my wife, Courtney, and we ended up getting married. And she came from a different church style than I came from. She came from a lot of non-denominational style churches. she moved around a lot, and her parents made sure that they could always go to church if they wanted to, but her parents did not go, so they didn't force them. But the kids usually went because of the interaction. Um, so they went to a lot of different churches that were very different than what I'm used to with a Lutheran church. A Lutheran church is very, they read from a bulletin, they read certain prayers every week, they sing hymns, and I guess you kind of consider it kind of dry. Um, Whereas the non-denominational style church is very loose, very open. They sing a lot of praise and worship songs, and they do things differently. So we shopped around churches for a while. We went to a couple different ones to figure out one that we really liked, and we ended up landing on Bethel there in Elmore, and the church just grabbed both of us, the people, the pastor. So we went there a couple times. We got to know it a little bit, and the more we did, the more it grew on us. And we became members. We've been members there for about 2 years. It wasn't long after we got into Bethel that I was kind of reawoken, I guess you would say. It woken back up my active side of being a Christian. And I thought back to, what it was that really made me this kind of person, and it was youth group. And Dan confronted me one time and said, "Hey, would you like to help out at youth group one night? We're kind of short." And I was like, "Yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you about that." So I started going to the block, and I haven't stopped yet. So I'm in my second year now with you guys. And that's really, why I keep coming back. This part of my faith was the big part, what really secured who I was as a Christian, and I want to be able to help you guys do the same. Be able to look back on your life and do that. There's a lot of different things that we've learned at Bethel, and that I've learned at Bethel, and things that I've opened up to. I would say back when I was a Lutheran, the things I did were wrong. I don't think there is a way to say that was necessarily wrong. There's a lot of open interpretation in the Bible to do things a certain way, and so I won't say it was wrong, but I learned that there are other ways, and there are other means and things to do it. So I became more open. One of the things that we did was our son Timothy, when he was born, we didn't have him baptized. And in the Lutheran Church, you baptize your babies. We had him dedicated. Bethel does dedication for our children, which is kind of the same as a baptism. We stood up in front of the church and we, in front of God and everybody else, we said, we'll make sure we raise him in a church. But we gave him the option when he gets older to learn what baptism means and to choose to be baptized himself. So that's one of the many things that changed me when I started going to Bethel, was to understand that baptism in a baby is not necessary. It's just one interpretation. So when you go to a church, the important part about a church, and, for those of you that went to Spring Hill, you'll understand this the best, and I'll try to explain it a little bit better for those of you that didn't. We saw a speaker there. His name was Nathan, and one of the things that he really pushed on was about surrounding yourself with a community of God. The church, a church, is the community of God. And what's important about that is a support structure. In one of his lessons, he brought a ladder up on the stage, and he said, if I climb this ladder by myself and climb to the very top, it may not be the sturdiest. It might rock a little bit, it might sway a little bit, and I might be a little uneasy. But that's like climbing life by yourself. It's like trying to get to God by yourself. But if you join a church and you join a community of other people who can help you, all of a sudden he brought people on stage and they started holding the ladder for him. And he started climbing that ladder, and it was sturdy, it was solid. It wasn't going anywhere. There were people there to support him in his walk. And that's what a church is. A church is a community. It's a place for you guys to go that you don't have to feel alone in your walk with God, and you can be supported in the things that you do. So that's why it's important for the church, and why it's important for you guys to come to the block. For you guys, I know some of you go to some of the other churches in Elmore or around the area, like Oak Harbor, Genoa, and wherever. Some of you may not go to church, and the block is the closest that you get. And that's why we really try to, that's why we have our lessons, and we try to do things and create this community for you guys. If there's any of you that don't go to church, that would ever want to try going to church, Like I said, my wife and I would go to Bethel there in Elmore. We'd be more than willing, to pick you guys up, give me a call, say, hey, I want to go to church this Sunday, see what it's about. We'll take you. I know Dan and Heidi would be more than willing to also. Um, right now, during this kind of crazy epidemic time, we're not doing in-person church. You can actually watch it online on Facebook. We are doing it on Facebook, so I know a lot of you kids don't necessarily have Facebook, but your parents do. You could ask them to check out Bethel Church in Elmore and check out their Facebook page. You could watch some of the services from there. You can attend the block cyber, like what we're doing right now, the videos that Dan's been doing, and then hopefully once this thing is all over, we'll open the block back up again and maybe get to have another block opening party. That sounds like a good idea. I'll lean on Dan on that. And then we'll be able to go back to the church. So I want you guys to understand that you can be open. I'm not going to judge from any of your walks of life, wherever you guys have been. If you haven't even been to church before, and if tonight is the first time you're checking out the block, if you just started going this year, or if you've been coming to the block for a long time and you've been going to church, one way or another, and even if you're not comfortable in the current church you're at, there's a lot of different options. I want you guys to know that, and I want you guys to know that we are here to support you. I think Dan's going to have a couple other videos maybe of a couple other the leaders sharing their past. I think it's a good idea. It's a way for you guys to get to know us. And I'm going to try to talk to you a little bit more. Maybe we can do a couple more of these videos or sessions where you can get to know us a little bit more on some of our other pasts if you guys want to. Maybe ask some questions to specific people and we'll answer them. Yeah, that sounds like a fun idea. So again, thanks you guys for checking this out. If you have any questions on anything about my specific story, don't hesitate to call out. And have a great night, guys.